I often receive email messages from men who would like to take up the study of the classical liberal arts and classical philosophy, Catholic theology, and so on. And they ask, where should I begin? And when you look at the Classical Liberal Arts Academy and all of the courses and resources that we make available, it can be overwhelming. But really, the answer to that question is very simple, especially for an adult. Now, we could argue that, well, there's a natural beginning to classical education. The 7 liberal arts begin with the art of grammar. So maybe you should start with the first of the 7 liberal arts, but I wouldn't advise that, especially for adults. It's certainly true that to master classical learning, you would need to study the 7 liberal arts, but I wouldn't advise you to start there as an adult. In fact, I would advise you to start at the top, and I'll explain why. When I say start at the top, what I mean is to start with the study of philosophy or even scholastic theology. The reason why I think this is helpful for adults is because you can already read the texts as an adult. So you can get started with the reading. The vocabulary won't be too difficult for you to get started. But here's what's helpful about starting at the top. If you undertake the study of the Summa Theologica, what will happen is you will see in the writing of Thomas Aquinas what knowledge he assumes is present in the students of his works. You'll see the sources that he refers to. You'll see the ideas that he takes for granted. You'll come across all of the different concepts, philosophical concepts that he talks about, and so on. You'll see his use of language, his investigation of the meanings and origins of words. You'll see him discussing issues in grammar. You'll see him talking about all of the 7 liberal arts at different points, and you'll see those studies being put into practice and used by the great doctor of the Catholic Church. And so it will give you an opportunity to actually appreciate and understand the use of those studies. And then as you develop that appreciation, you can then, in that context, go back and undertake those studies. And they'll have a context and they'll be more meaningful. And with that appreciation, you'll be able to study them with greater zeal and with understanding because you'll have an application. They'll immediately help you in your study of those higher subjects. Now, you won't be able to progress very quickly in those higher studies without a knowledge of the earlier studies, but that exposure to the higher studies will help you to really understand what's going on in the mind of someone like Aristotle or Thomas Aquinas. You'll see them working, using the arts to actually investigate the questions and study the subjects that they're studying in their different philosophical and theological works. So to keep this very short and simple, if you're an adult who would like to pursue a classical education, my advice is actually that you start somewhere at the top. 2 courses that I would recommend would be Aristotle's Classical Ethics in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy or St. Thomas's Summa Theologica. Get into those courses, begin the studies, and pay attention, not so much to the content of what's taught, but how the truth is established by those great masters, and you'll see the value and the use of the 7 liberal arts and classical philosophy, the sacred scriptures, and so on. And that will give you the best motivation and context for the pursuit of a true classical education. Again, I wouldn't advise this for children, obviously, but if you're an adult seeking to pursue a classical education, this is how I would recommend you pursue it. I hope that's helpful. God bless.